All right, Victorum Gaming fans and SPQR fans, we're coming to the end of our video series here covering the hero talents for the game. And the last tech tree is a short one called Voice of a God. So these are dealing with a lot of like morale sort of modifications, basically, or at least the way they're described, but they do have some different effects. So, but definitely a interesting little tech tree to look at. So, Voice of a God, the hero has a mighty voice, perhaps being descended from Heracles himself. His roar dominates the battlefield, forcing the enemy to quail under the hero's terrible presence. So, so these are both melee actions, and they require investment into the bravery stat. So +3 and then +4. Warcry is certainly well worth looking at. Very easy to pick up. So when the hero charges an enemy, he utters a dreadful roar that galvanizes himself and the men he leads. When the hero's unit benefits from a charge, the enemy unit being attacked suffers a -1 penalty to its melee checks for that action. So just really nice little ability there. -1 to their melee, you might as well think of it, as that's extra armor for your unit, because that's fewer hits, and then that means fewer things you're going to have to parry, which will lead to even fewer attacks, and then that's ultimately fewer armor saves that you're making. So really cool ability to help you get that extra oomph on the charge. And if you're charging, you're obviously going to hopefully do some more damage than the enemy, and with fewer actual hits getting through, that can help already set the tone for that battle if you don't end up wiping them out. And then we come to Demoralize. So it requires bravery of 4, and it's also a melee action. When the hero charges, he yells a curse that causes his enemies to tremble. Any enemy unit outnumbered by the hero and his unit that is charged must succeed in a bravery check or immediately perform a move away from the hero. This counts as fleeing from close combat. Enemy heroes or units led by heroes are immune to that. So somewhat situational, because again, it's not going to work if there's a hero leading that unit, but ideally they don't have a great bravery stat. So and what that means is basically if they flee, they drop their large shields if they've got them, for example. So stripping, and that's gone for the game. So potentially stripping an enemy's one layer of defense away and really getting rid of a lot of their potential parries is huge. So now again, units that have great bravery, it's up to the dice really. A lot of times they're just going to pass it, but if they fail, so something like a Roman legion unit failing that, they've still got really good armor and all that, but taking away their ability to parry and getting straight at that armor is really strong. Now, of course, they still have swords and stuff, but getting rid of those those 2 parries from like a large shield is huge. And units that don't really have good armor to fall back on after that shield is gone, the swords aren't going to parry everything. So the more you can then again force hits onto actual armor saves will be just significantly great for you. Which will lead to more casualties too. So 2 really cool abilities, and predicated on the charge, but and each kind of works to sort of debuff, ironically, the unit that you're fighting. So Warcry is certainly a very easy application there, and will definitely hopefully win you some more fights. And then Demoralize is again a little bit more situational, but potentially stripping enemy of things like large shields, because they count as fleeing, can also set the tone for the battle in different ways too. So because you're going to follow up with that and that charge, and again stripping away all those large shield parries and forcing them to rely on sword parries. And if they're not using swords, then they're not really going to have parries left, and then it's just on to the armor saves. So so 2 pretty cool abilities, very short tech tree, definitely worth considering depending on how you're building up your army and the likely armies that you're going to be facing. So that is the last in our series covering the different talent trees. I hope you guys found this series useful. We'll definitely be starting some other series on covering the different weapons for the games, the turn structure, list construction, stuff like that, and also our next very big series, which will cover all the missions or scenarios for the game. So there's the generic ones, then each faction has their set of 3. So that will definitely be another lengthy series. But I hope you guys enjoy the content. Hit us with a like if you could, and subscribe if you haven't already, and then stay tuned for more SPQR content.